Okay, thought I'd do a quick little follow-up video here on the broken VS-2400 that I purchased. You can see it's the one that has the broken CD drive in the front, which is actually the only thing wrong with it. The CD drive does work, and I've been burning discs with it, no problem. Well, I've actually had some trouble because I guess it doesn't like Memorex CDRWs. So we're going to try a different brand there, and we're still getting the clock, calendar, backup battery low message. So we'll go ahead and clear that out and let it continue to boot here. I've gone ahead and incorporated it into my studio. I'll post a video about that as well, but I wanted to follow up because I've now tested it pretty thoroughly. I've got, you can see we've got this is a project that I went ahead and I don't have anything powered for speakers right now, so it's not it'll play, but you won't be able to hear it. So the play button actually works better than I initially thought. I guess there's sort of a technique to it. But it does pretty much work when you want it to. So it's not so bad. The one that's worse is actually the function button. I've had a little bit more trouble with that. But fortunately, using the mouse, you can get to all these menus here and pretty much don't need that button for anything. And actually the play button is actually, you can hit the play button here too, so you don't really need to worry about that either. But I also have found that the foot switch works really well for that. So if I hit the foot switch, you can see we're now playing. If I hit it again, it stops. So I can use the foot switch in place of the play button anyway, even if the play button didn't work. But it seems to be working actually fairly well. Originally, I was thinking that I had some problems with the digital output on it because I was getting some cracks and pops on it. Trying to send the output from this out to my other console behind me, which is connected to my monitors. So I wanted to be able to leave it connected to the monitors and just send the audio over digitally from this. And I was getting some clicks and pops. Turned out that actually, even though it didn't look like there was a sync problem, there was. And I ended up having to use this as the master and sync to this. So that solved the problem. So now if I want to go over to use my ADAT, I have to just switch the clock source to go back and forth. It's not that big a deal. But it's working quite well. There's a little bit of a weird input on 6. It's a little low. And the switch for the high Z input is a little problematic. It gets a little scratchy. You have to fiddle with the switch a little bit. I'll have to clean that. But other than that, the faders are a little bit weird. They're a little slow, and you can see they move a little slowly, and they're noisy. I think they're getting better, so maybe it's just because this thing sat for kind of a while. I don't know. But it actually works quite well. I've already recorded it. You can see that I've made a bit of a recording here, and several minutes long. I think it's actually 5 minutes long. And it works fine. No crackling, no weird audio artifacts. Burned several exported projects, track exported them to CD. To CDR. That seems to work pretty much flawlessly. The CDRWs are a little problematic, and I think possibly because of the Memorex cheapo CDRWs I'm using. So I don't know if I'm going to go straight to the real expensive $25 audio quality CDRWs, or if I'm going to try to get a different brand of the cheap ones and see if they work. But so far, it works quite well. I've tied it into the studio, and I haven't decided if I want to ultimately keep this or upgrade to the 2480. Originally, I was really looking to get the 2480, but this was such a good price and so little seemed to be wrong with it that I just jumped on this. So it seems to do pretty much what I need. The only problem is that, of course, in order to transfer files to the computer, I'm kind of stuck with this CD drive that does work. It's ugly, but it does work. I can even, if I get my finger right in there, I can get it to eject. But you can eject it without the button anyway. But it's slow, obviously, to do that. The 2480 would give me the option of going with SCSI, and I don't know what people generally connect to the 2480s over their SCSI port, but I'm sure that would be a better option for speedy transfer of the files. But either way, this does work, and unfortunately, I don't have anything that's R-bus, so I can't take advantage of that. It does have the R-bus connection on the back, and if I've been looking for one of those PCI cards. If I can find one of those, maybe I'll play with that. But for now, this thing is going to be the beginning part of my process. So I'm going to use this to record my tracks, to record all my parts, and then I'm going to go ahead and dump it to disk and bring it over to the other side and put it into the DAW on the computer where I have the FW1884 control surface, and I'll do all my slicing and dicing on that side of things, and that way I will never lose a take ever again. Presumably this will be more reliable than the PC has been in the past, but I've been impressed with it so far. I've done a bunch of stuff with it. I've recorded a few things, and there was at least a couple of projects loaded on the hard drive when I got it, and I've used those to kind of test it in a lot of different ways so that I could make sure that all the outputs work and all the inputs work. And like I say, there is number 6. It's a little weird, a little low. I didn't really listen for sound quality on it too much, but it seemed a little low. And then the high Z button, a little bit of a problem with that being scratchy, unless you wiggle it a little bit. And I could probably clean that maybe, and it might be all right. But I don't really foresee that being an issue. I don't think I'm going to use the high Z input on this thing. I have the bass preamp here. This 3.8, I think it's a 383. So that works out well, and I can get that over here from that side of things. I've got the wire snakes running over there. You can see I've got the 8 inputs here on one wire snake, and then I've got the 8 outputs as well, plus the digital ins and outs that are both going over to the FW1884. So actually I don't even really need, most of the time I won't even need the analog inputs at all, because I'm only generally recording myself, and that's no more than 2 channels at a time typically. So I can just send it over here over the digital coax if I want. So that'll work pretty well too. So it's actually way less broken, and it was a really good deal. It was less than $100 plus shipping. So the CD drive does look broken, but does work, and I may replace it at some point, but it works, so no rush there. And as far as the play button, like I say, it works. It's just a little bit, sometimes it stops. It's just a little bit funky. So I'll put up another video about the whole, now that I've got the whole studio set up kind of the way I want it, and almost the final version. I'm going to put up a video of the sort of the studio tour, but just a little follow-up on the VS-2400, and this has gone way longer than I anticipated, so I'm going to sign off now.